I've just come back from Manamind, which is with Coho. Shout out Coho Management Software, and the founder Van invited me to a Manamind session, which was 30 of the biggest landlords, particularly HMO landlords in the UK, staying in a big manor house together up in the Yorkshire Dales. And the main focus was to split out into focus groups and talk about the RRA, so the Renters' Right Act, and the impacts on landlords, the impacts on tenants, the impacts on our business operations, and then also went into a whole load of other topics. But do you know what? It was mainly to do with the lettings and management side of things, which I don't usually get involved in. So it was really interesting to be with some people who are very long in the tooth with managing fairly substantial management companies or just big landlords themselves, like some guys there with 800 units that they've built out over time and retained, and lots of nuggets. And I've noted them all down and I've sent them to our lettings team. I was just taking notes and sending them through, go, guys, another nugget, guys, another nugget, guys, another nugget. There's this reposit scheme as well, which I was never aware of. Vicky, actually, who runs our lettings, was actually aware of it, and that's an insurance that the tenant can take out. There's landlord insurance you can take out. Usually, it's about 2 to 4% a year that you pay, and that insures the tenant for any void periods, for legal costs if you have to take it through Section 8 and things like that. But there's quite a rigorous referencing process that has to comply with the insurance company for it to be underwritten. But there's actually insurance the tenant can take out, and this is quite a good nugget. So instead of the tenant paying a 5-week deposit held in a deposit protection scheme, they could pay a 1-week non-refundable deposit that goes to a company like Reposit, big company, and they pay that 1 week non-refundable, and then Reposit will give you 8 weeks worth of coverage, including damages. So the benefit to the tenant is they're paying less of a deposit. The benefit to us is that we don't have to go through all the chasing of deposits and all that kind of stuff, because it's on Reposit to do that, and they just pay us out, and then it's on them to chase the tenant. And the only kind of downside that I've heard some of the guys say about it is that it can seem a little bit aggressive on the tenant, but ultimately it's their choice what to do. And if they're a good tenant and they pay and they don't damage the property, then it's fine. And there's some people saying that the deposit of 1 week doesn't cover the full damages, but that's not necessarily true, because if a tenant does, damage a property, beyond like, reasonable, wear and tear, then they're still liable, like even if it goes beyond the deposit amount anyway. Like you can't just go in and damage people's properties. You have to take them to small claims, and it's still a ball ache. But the view is from some of the guys who've ran this at scale that it's a numbers game, and on average you net out better just by having a more fluent process with the tenant, and they prefer paying the 1 week non-refundable over 5 weeks that they know they might have to argue over towards the end. So that was an interesting nugget. And then there's just a few other things there as well.